I should. Freedom, it's a beautiful thing. Freedom is what we consistently want to bring you in the mental health structure because without freedom, it is quite difficult for you to experience life satisfaction, to live a life of ease, a life of wonder, a life of fun, where you are not burdened by the past through regret, where you are not driven in anxiety, where your life is not controlled by what people do or say. So here we challenge status quo, we redefine standard, we advise people, we bring you to higher life because honestly, without higher life, you can't enjoy this life because you need a higher life to impact your world. Because as we see, my brother and my friends and brothers and sisters and friends and colleagues, the world is a broken place. The world is a place of stress and exhaustion. The world is a place of death. And every time we say we're stressed, it seems like we are out of sync to a place of joyfulness, to a place of enjoyment, of pleasure, or wellness, of comfort. So it means that we have been disengaged from those attributes. And so when we talk about mental health really is where you have mental clarity, we have mental resilience, we have mental fortitude, we have mental blueprint that helps you to regulate all the emotions that you go through. So in this corner, we carefully want to invite you to a higher life of goodness. I know when I talk about higher life of goodness, people want to understand what is this higher life of goodness? Oh, the thing because you have money, then you get into higher life of goodness. Money can get you comfort, but money cannot get you contentment. And freedom is in contentment, not in comfort. Can I say that again? Money can give you comfort, but can't give you contentment. And contentment is what gives you freedom. Without contentment, you're not free. Because really, if you look at it, when you're complaining, when you're judging, when you're desiring, when you're wanting, when you're controlling, these are signs of non-contentment. Not passive, but yet active, but contented. So you see, contentment is what typifies a higher life. And it takes a lot of deep inner work, which most people do not want to go in because the state of your mind landscape, your mind interior will be the projection to your external exterior. So to rearrange your entire experience and what you call suffering or depression or state is a function of the state of your inner reality, because your inner state will be the precondition to which to influence your exterior world. Now, why do I say things like this to higher life? Except you are in a higher life, you are in a broken place. And in brokenness, you can't find wholeness. And it's only in higher life that you find wholeness. Because this is a place of inclusion, integration, and transformation. And it takes a transformed soul being that is no longer material focus to an inward focus where the kingdom resides. And the kingdom is a kingdom of bliss. And you can't find bliss externally, because they are temporary reality that is subject to the original reality which is within you, that is influenced by the unchanging reality which is our source, our God, or whatever you call it. So basically, you can't have freedom of your mind until you find the truth that unlocks freedom in your mind. So there are truths, basic truths that are governed So instead of seeking for indifference, instead of seeking for solution, I always say don't seek for solution. Seek for truth. The Bible did not say buy solution. It said buy the truth. When you buy the truth, it's like finding the truth. And the truth that you know set you free. So if you're not free in your relationship, in your career, in your leadership, which I love leadership, that means you have not found the truth. You need to be able to find truth, to be able to live a free life, a life of fulfillment, a lot of ease. Ease is not about acquiring or in a possession. In fact, ease is freedom of the mind. And where you have freedom, no attachment, no resistance. In fact, when you are resisting from the place of fear, from the place of need, from the place of brokenness, from the place of lack, from the place of judgment. But hey, in freedom, there's an acceptance, what we call radical acceptance, where you're not under tension. Because you know why? You have found the truth. And today we are going to be considering something quite different. I wish you can invite your friends and your brothers and sisters, because everybody who has been harmed by a boss, everybody who has been tortured by life, everybody who has been tortured by followers, everybody who has been tortured by your children. Your children can harm you because of their consistent misalignment to family values and cultures. That can put a whole lot of pressure on you, that impact on your mental health and give you frustration and all that. We want to strip those words, frustration, and make sure they are obliterated from your space and your mind, because frustration is not part of the kingdom benefit. Why do I say like this? Where the Spirit of God is, there is liberty. Another translation talk about there's freedom, there's ease. And until we get to that state of freedom, we're in prison. And we want to be able to break those prison walls, those limitations, those ceilings, those caps, those floors, to be able to ascend to a higher level. And why do I like to move into higher level? Let me read a very powerful scripture that I love so much, that has anchored me well. In the book of John, according to the writer of John, but before I go to that, if you look at 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 17, the Lord is the same as the Spirit. And where the Lord's Spirit is, with anyone, any person, that person is free. So you cannot claim that you are led by the Spirit of God, that you are associated with the Spirit of Christ or the Spirit of the Lord, and yet you're not free. If the Son sets you free, you're free indeed. So if you're still on a daily basis on those elementary resentment that disfigure you, or that makes you ugly, because once you are angry, your warmth, which is the presence of beauty, has gone, and now you are no longer free. And those elementary anger, they are the poisons that brings you into mental disorder. That's why it's important that we look at critical spiritual materials and make references. And once you get into these depths, living the breadth but to depth, living quantity to quality, that's what it does, is begin to find that every time you're dying is redirecting you to rebirth. So what we want to bring is to bring a rebirth, a new you. And don't be messed up. Every day of our life we die. We die to excuses. We die to all the things that have impeded us. And then when we recognize and realize and come back into where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's liberty. Once you turn back from your personal effort and get over that, you have moved from death to life. And it's possible on a daily basis. And the more you stay on it, the consistent you stay on it, you now stay on that elevated point. So, but the point is, there's a personal effort, and personal effort will put you on it's like a mechanical stage of life where you are struggling, where you're pushing, where you're putting effort. It drains, it saps your energy. There's no energy conservation there because you're not led by the Spirit. And when the Spirit is with anyone, that person is free. So let's go to John. Fantastic scripture. John chapter 3, verse number 31. The one who comes from above, I talk about above mentality. You cannot play in this earthly region without above mentality. As above, so beneath. You can't command and have influence in a dark world, in a cracked world, in a broken world, in a needy world, in a wanting world, in a judgmental world, unless you have ascended into the height. You require the height. You require height. The one who comes from above is greater than all things. A person who comes from the earth belongs to the earth. A person that speaks only about things that belong to the earth. But the one who comes from above, from heaven, is greater than all things. I read that one in easy translation. It really makes sense again. But let's look at it in another translation, TPT 31. Just take it easy. Today we are going to be considering the unharmed self. How not to be harmed by people's opinion, circumstances, detours, curveballs, what I call the blessed outcome. Blessed outcome is when outcome do not align to your specific anticipation. Now look at what he said. For the one who is from the earth belongs to the earth and speak from the natural realm. Every time you say I'm human, you are switched into your low level, into your base level, into your floor level, into your weak state, into your helplessness, into your incapacitation, where you are incapacitated. You have lost power. That's what they talk about, speaking from the earth, natural realm. But the one who comes from above is above everything and speaks of the highest realm of all. Now, if you look at a very critical scripture that gave me the concept I call the above mentality, it's in Colossians chapter 3. Colossians chapter 3, very powerful, very powerful, very powerful. Verse 2, let me leave verse 1. Verse 2 say, yes, feast on all the treasures of the heavenly realm and fill your thought with your heaven realities and not the distraction of the natural realm. So you can see that the natural realm is a distraction. And for some of you who are hurting, what is hurting you is that the broken nature, the death nature, the wanting nature, the incomplete nature, that broken place have not found fulfillment. So it's looking for fulfillment. No wonder the scripture said that the whole earth is waiting for the manifestation of the sons of man, the sons of God. The sons of God are whole. They are complete. That's why I say, we are complete in him, lacking nothing, because in him is our fullness. We're not connected to the limited life or the finite life. We're connected to the infinite life where the abundant is limitless, is ocean. It's like we go to the ocean and the power of the ocean, the magnificence of the ocean, the splendor of the ocean. The abundance, the vastness is like it cannot be intimidated. But you see, when you play in the upper vision or if you stay in the upper region of the sea, which is, let's say, the earthly region, what happened is that you're troubled. That's where the storm is. But beneath the storm is calm. It's like a state of calmness, serenity, tranquil. It's a state of stillness. And in that stillness is freedom. It's free from the bubbles. Because the surface is bubble, and too many of us are in the surface level. All of us. I mean, I'm still in surface level in some area of my life, which I'm looking for. That's why you see personal growth is what brings you to, is the key driver to freedom. If you're not growing, you can't find freedom, because freedom is tied down to growth. What did I say? Freedom is tied down to growth. And that's why we come in here into full illumination, to bring you practical steps, to provide you, skill set that will be your armor, your arsenal, to bring you to that place of where you are sacred, where you're beautiful, where you radiate, where that ecstasy of your life, because it's only in joy that you can find freedom. Anything outside joy, you can't freedom. And that's why I said, with joy will you draw from the wells of salvation. And ladies and gentlemen, it is important that we begin this note by saying that we can learn, we can strive, we can make a conscious effort. We can create habitual exercise or patterns, conscious patterns that can reinvent us, redirect us into the path of unharmed emotion. Unharmed emotion. I like to dig deep. I like to study. I like to experiment. I like to explore. I like to observe. I like to watch. I like to animate. I like to embody the word because it is powerful. I like to engage. I like to participate. I don't want to be passive. And so you know that where we want to bring you is a place where you are free from resistance. I mean, there are scriptures that had been fundamental where we say resist the devil. But it didn't say resist reality. It's a different thing. Accept reality. And it's in that acceptance that you move into your untroubled self, unharmed self. What does that mean? Accept that your boss is broken. And he's going to speak from the natural realm of brokenness. And so if you're finding completion from a broken self, it is you that's controlling him. You're resisting what is. Accept that your spouse is a struggling personality. Accept that he's a work in progress. Accept that his state or her state of evolution is still in progress. So there's a room for transformation, like there's a room for my transformation, for my upscale, for my movement. So I'm not that. I'm not perfect. If I'm perfect, I'll go and be with the Lord. So I have to be that place of vulnerability. So that's why acceptance is to bring you the freedom from resistance. Know that you're still going to have traffic light. Know that you're going to have disappointment from people. Know that, Lord, that the rain will still fall. Know that the intensity of the sun will increase. Know that the weather will change. Know that people will still cheat. Know that people will act out of character. Those are acceptance. Now we want to bring you out of control, where you control event. He should have known. We go to the same enlightenment house. So why is he not? No, not all of them that heard the word mixed it with faith. Because the word has transformed you does not mean it has transformed the other person. So that's acceptance, that's reality. We want to bring you out from expectation of a specific outcome. Every expectation that you have invested in a certain emotion, you're bound to be disappointed because there are things outside your control. I want to respect people. Do I know they want to respect me? I want to honor people. Do I know that whether they want to honor me? I want to pay my debt. Do I know whether people want to pay their debt? I want to be first class. I don't know whether the people want to be the first class. They will tell you because you have the resources. I want to be mentally alert. Do you think that people are mindful? So these are what we are talking about. Expectation cannot give you freedom. And that's why most people are already disappointed with our Creator. People that gave the Father an ultimatum. If I don't marry this year, I will not come to church or come to service. You're going to meet expectation because it's not a jackpot. It's an alignment of principles and time, divine timing. If you are so powerful, create a husband or the wife. Create the job. Create the elevation. But otherwise, there are patterns, there are laws that govern manifestation. And you need to understand those truths about them. So we want to be able to bring you from upset. Because you see, your emotional trauma and your mental health is predicated upon the number of upsets that you have in a day. Check about when you're in a retreat and nothing upsets you. You are in a flow. Your intuition is top notch. You won't disturb in your heart. But the moment you come out and you start judging things that are not in alignment to expectation, you become upset. Once that upset comes in, you're rattled, you're divided. And James says something. A double-minded personality cannot achieve anything. So it's important to deliver you from upset. And of course from regret. Regret is just that you are not allowing the pain of the past to tutor you, to mentor you. Because, hey, there's wisdom in pain. And every pain that you repeat is because you've not allowed the pain to teach you. That's why you're regretting it. And regret is a sign of weakness. What it does is it puts you into the loop of darkness. That's what distorts your mind, bring you into what they call the dark mind. And in dark mind, it produces after effect. So many people say, oh, he's very philosophical. No. I seek the truth from the Word of God. I seek the truth, spiritual truth. The reason why you talk like this, there are elevations. And I've always said there are three wisdom you need to aspire. Analytical wisdom. A lot of us are under analysis. That's why you're judgmental. That's why even what I'm saying may not make sense to you. That's what they call the based wisdom. Logical, analytical. It doesn't work with, is not coherent with spiritual laws because you don't have clarity in mental judgment. It's only mental acceptance that gives you freedom of resilience to be able to neutralize those. So that's what I call elementary wisdom. Of course, further to that, you now have what they call spiritual wisdom. These are principles where you begin to have aligned your life and all your actions and your feeling to align to spiritual principles and truths. That's when you know you have connected into spiritual wisdom. And of course, there's what they call the divine wisdom. This is where you have revelations, deeper revelations. This is where I have intuitions. That's why I have what they call the divine intelligence that have been raptured in your mind and begin to give you insights into the tapestry of life. And now the tapestry of life has been opened to you because you're still, you're calm, you're trusting, and you're a seeker. And that's when you come out to that. And most of the things that I come in here is what I call divine wisdom. Because there are questions that I have not read, but I just go ahead to ask, isn't it possible to live a life unharmed? Where your emotional upset are arrested because of intelligence and the knowledge and the deeper wisdom that's operational in you. I'm excited about this because they crack me open. Because I'm a crack. And that crack allows the divine light to come in to illuminate my mind and bring me light knowledge that transforms into freedom. Because all that I'm aspiring is a freedom. And today we're going to have five fundamental skill set to navigate and be unharmed. If you're going to be patient with me, I'm going to take them one by one after the other, and Write them down, go around it, visit this thing again, practice them like I'm practicing them. If we co-practice them, we're going to get the same result. And I'm excited about it because I don't want to live my life because people are hurting me. That is low level. That's not a higher life. And I want to say something before I move on. I read something fundamentally through a guy who we called Habakkuk. Habakkuk is a great writer who was such a prolific, he has a stainless curiosity where he goes in to find comfort in a pattern. So Habakkuk chapter 3 verse number 17. Thank you for joining us, everyone. If you have a question, we will be able to help you to live a life uncontaminated by external world. It's a journey, but it's possible. Say it's possible. It's possible. So read this. In Habakkuk chapter 3, verse 16, it says, I heard my heart pondered. I don't know how many of you your heart is pondering now. Because of rent, because of disappointment, because of abuse, because somebody raped you, because somebody took your money, because somebody took advantage of you. They didn't really take advantage of you. No. They showed from their broken place and their need. That's an expression out of the abundance of the heart. The mouth speaking, so they were speaking from what was inside. Because that's a reflection of who they are. I heard my heart pondered, and my lips quivered at the sound. Decayed crept into my bones, and my legs trembled. Yet I will wait patiently for the day of calamity to come on the nation invading us. So what we want to do, all the nation, I read something recently. It said you will rule, you will come and rule and possess the gates of your haters. So if anybody has hate you, it is time. What we intend to do is to bring you skill kit, catalog these 5 points. The utilization of them, the realization and utilization will optimize you into such a freedom where you begin to now possess the gate of haters. That means because you have now found the fundamental keys to unlock the masteries, and so you can walk free out of their cage and out of their bondages. I'm excited about this. It's really exciting. So the guy went on to say something. Listen to this. Though the fig tree does not bud, meaning that your life is unproductive, meaning that somebody has mortgaged you because they raped you, they took advantage of you, meaning the organization sacked you, disengaged you unjustly, meaning that your spouse has neglected the children or has done some remarkable thing and you are in pain. That's what it says. Though the fig tree does not bud, it means like your life is not productive, you don't find satisfaction, there's no freedom, there's no ecstasy, there's no excitement, there's no joy, there's no fun. But it says, though the fig tree does not bud, and there are no grapes on the vine, though the olive crop fails, and the field produce no food, though there are no sheep in the pen, and no cattle in the stall, yet, my God, yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will be joyful in God my salvation. You do mean it? That mean like irrespective of what negativity that had been pronounced upon me, the disbelief, the rejection, the loss of contract, whatever it is that has harmed my emotion, that has kept me in a perpetual hurt, upset. Hey, it's a time for liberation. It's a time not to escape, but deliverance, complete deliverance, because the righteous man is delivered by knowledge, and I'm delivered by knowledge. It's exciting, really, where you're not trapped by negative emotion or projections, but you find the freedom to rise above because you are above. Your mentality is above. It's acquired. is revealed. He said, yet I will rejoice in the Lord, the sovereign Lord who is my strength. Look at what we're talking about. He makes my feet like a feet of a deer to enable me to tread on the height. So this is what we're talking about, to enable you to tread on the height. And when you tread on the height, you are above emotional blackmails. You're above earthly projections. You're above earthly wordings. And that's where we want to position you. Where they enable you to tread on the heart. I don't know whether you're in the hospital, and now the hospital, where you are in that hospital bed, your emotion is wrecked because you're looking at what you should have. Relax. Stay in the rhythm of rest. Your deliverance has come. This is a time where your height is going to come out of that. Even though you're in that sick bed, you're not in the sick bed because you're above. Why? He makes your feet like the feet of a deer. He enables you to tread on the height. You're about to tread on the height. That's what this whole place is. Emotional damage means that you're on the floor. And until you find height, because you need to have your foot standing on the truth. Like when you talk about the helmet of salvation, where you're, oh my God. That is what we're talking about today. So, you see, all the sufferings that you are suffering put you in the flow of life. You're not in height. Because, you see, freedom doesn't notice suffering. It converts suffering into sustainability. Because there's suffering is just an indication of lack of growth. It is growth that usher you into freedom. If you're not growing mentally, spiritually, emotionally, in self-awareness, it's difficult for you to change the inner landscape that dictates the exterior. And everything you suffer is outside. But when we run inside, it's safer. So what we want to do is to take you out of desiring to come out of this. Because desire is also an issue. Because you see, when you are desiring, you're coming from a place of fear. You're coming from a place of lack. You're coming from a place of judgment. And life doesn't respond to judgment. Life responds to alignment to truth. Life responds to alignment. Go and ask Joshua. And that's what Joshua, they go back to the book of the law. Observe. Internalize them. Let them be your constant food day in and day out. Operate from there. Engage from there. See from there. Think from there. Believe from there. Let it shape your belief system. And that's what happened when there was a point where his life, he need to come to a standstill. He engaged the world. He said, hey, he commanded out of the world. And that's why we want to make sure that we bring this to your notice. We want you to live. So now we live out of alignment or out of control. And that's why we're resisting. And I've always thought, for you to live a free life, you cannot live life by default. You have to live life by careful design. So there are two ways to approach life. A designed life or a default life. In designed life, it's all about alignment. It's what I call the coherence. It's the ability to live in resonance, in proper whole, in agreement to your inner convictions and your belief system, and from your core and from your center. That's a place of groundedness. So you see, when you're not grounded in your core, in your essence, you will not be able to live a designed life. And that's why I say it is written the volume. I'm functioning out of the volume that is written. So if you don't come back every morning into that silent moment, into the place of meditation, into the place of prayer, into the place of worship, what is that? You're commanding your money. The command your money means establish the pattern. Establish the pattern of your flow state. Otherwise, you forced state. So default is false. Design is a flow state. And that's why alignment gives you expression. Control gives you expectations. Because the expectation means it's outside. But the alignment means that I'm already in it. I need to find expression. You see, alignment is operating from a place of abundance and fullness. But you see, expectation is expecting from a place of insufficiency. And that's what triggers upset. But because when you're whole, when you're powerful, like you said, I gave unto you power to tread upon serpents and scorpions and all the powers of the enemy. Nothing shall by enemies hurt you. You see, that's what we're talking about. You can stay in this kingdom unhurt. So do you need to be able to design your life? I designed my life. I think I was talking to a friend today and talking about what are the important of things in your life. Most people cannot sit down to say what's important in their life. I just say freedom. He said, oh, freedom. We talked about freedom. What does freedom to be myself? Because you see, when you say you're living an authentic life, you're living a life of design, which is a life of alignment, and which is a life of expression. But when you live a life of default, what happens is that you live like a robot. You are being triggered. You are reactive in nature. There's an upset. Because you see, you have not been able to design your life. So you can design it through your core values. I have my 8 core values, my 7 core values that periodically is my design. I also design what's important. Like for example, what's important is freedom. What's important is awareness. What's important is balance. Balance, knowing that I'm centered in that equilibrium state where I'm unmovable. That's my truth. What is important to me is to live in gratitude. You see how on a daily basis, there are things that I confess. Like I will tell you that I'm a Jesus boy. I walk in divine wisdom. I'm on top only. I fear God. I have a good heart. I'm kind-hearted. I'm diligent and hardworking. I have an excellent spirit. I manifest greatness. I am blessed of the Lord. I am blessed of the Lord. I'm blessed of the Lord. I'm a thinker. I'm a strategist. I build good culture. I have a great future. These are important rituals that resonate with me, that I'm in alignment. So when I get into a space, these things are important because I've designed them. So to find true comfort, freedom, fulfillment, or what we call success, it is central to design and to make your life. This is another thing. What is design life? Is what I call the path maker. Path makers are people who constructively designed their life and said, hey, you know what? This is how I intend. This is the roadmap. This is my compass. This is the dictator. This is the drive of my life. One of my drive of my life is betterment. It's growth. Is to find my expandable self. So I can use insult as an instrument of expansion. Because you see, when somebody insults you, I want to be able to get to that point where that insult is a resource that will not control me, but for utilization to empower me so that I can step higher. So let me start breaking it down. So it's important we're going to move from. So in knowledge, as we round off, there's what I call the light of knowledge. Light of knowledge is when you move from packaged knowledge. A lot of us have packaged knowledge. What is packaged knowledge? Knowledge that does not transform you, that does not bring change. Knowledge that you don't act from. That's a packaged knowledge. And a lot of us in that packaged knowledge. If what you know cannot set you free, that means that you don't know. Because you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. So packaged knowledge, or what they call passive consumption. Passive consumption is where we are superficial in nature, where we do not engage life consciously, where we have our mind is controlled rather than our mind connection. It is mindlessness how we act. There's no thoroughness, there's no thoughtfulness. They just radical, just move the way. The people that you fear, the people who say, I act how I feel. No, they are never in alignment. They call them, what we call them, unwise indulgence. Unwise indulgence. So there are three things: packaged knowledge, passive consumption, and unwise indulgence. Some people engage into, like you get into people's office, they're already stressed out. They don't know that they are stressed out. You come in here, they project that stress into you, unconscious to you. You indulge to them. So you need still to come out of it. But here, let's break the 5 points. Please take a note. Mark them. Number 1, there's what I call the act of intention. The skill set to live unharmed emotion is embedded in these 5 structures. They are powerful scientifically, biblically, spiritually, psychologically. Go and check them. They are powerful. Number 1 is the act of attention. The act of attention. Time failed me to talk about what they call the will focus as part of the second most powerful thing that you require. A story was told about the children of Israel, that they were in hut, and by the divine intelligence has instructed that, okay, to make a brazen snake. So they have a snake that was biting them. They also had to create a similar kind of snake, that's a levated snake, put it on top. That means look up. When you look up, it changes, first of all, your perspective. Your life is connected to your perspective. That's why I say, looking unto Jesus, the author and the finisher. Outside the Lord and Savior, you're likely going to look at the ego self. The ego itself want to be tendered, want to be in status quo, want to be defended. It's the ego that hurts, because the ego means age God out. That's what the ego means. It is the smallest person who wants to be in control. But it says, so attention is the tool of creation. Attention is the tool of creation. Attention will create your perspective. What will influence your thinking pattern? What will create a belief system that will impact on your emotion and eventually affect your behavior and your character conduct. To change anything is to change attention. We call it the act of attention. Attention drives your emotion, your freedom, and your well-being. It is central to your well-being. Now, this is what I mean. So let's look at it. Have you noticed that the moment you look at your boss every morning, you're giving more power? Why? When you are not preoccupied with what your boss is doing. And that's why you suffer, because you shifted your attention from what is important to you to what is not important to you. And in fact, it is non-essential, non-important things that hurt you. Because really, abuse is not important to you. Disappointment is not important to you. Break are not important to you. But when you now focus on them, the act of focusing on them will now change your perspective, and your thought patterns will change. Don't forget, as a man thinketh, so he is. So the act of, to change what you think you're suffering, change the focus. It is the focus that is fueling the manifestation. Okay, look at it. When somebody injured somebody or probably killed somebody, what happened? You know why they put them in jail? They put him in jail so that he's out of sin. First and foremost, they don't see the person. It will just maybe assuage them as, okay, at least he's in. You know how human being elementary would say, okay, at least he's in jail. That's what power of attention. Just move him out of attention. And have you noticed that when you're too stubborn in a house, they will tell you to send you to grandmother's house? And what it means that maybe when you go to grandmother's house, what was engineering that, giving you that confidence, will be denied. And once you're denied out of it, it changes how you think, and your perspective changes, and your emotion changes. So the act of attention, check it. Change the attention. Look at yourself in that sick bed. Don't look at the sickness. Look at the scripture that said you are healed. The guy did not look at the critical, Habakkuk did not look at the critical thing, but he was looking at where his strength is. Where the strength is will give him height. Once you don't have height, you can't outshine your dark world. So your mental stress, because you are equal to the mental stressor. I love this. I love this. I love this. I love this. The act of attention is so powerful. Change attention, everything change. I can look at you. The guy that hurt you 20 years ago, you're still giving attention to that person. The day you make up your mind to look at your brother who is sponsoring you in school, you will erase that person. You will finish that suffering. You're only suffering. What power suffering is attention. Change the channel. The view is changed. Oh, it's like watching one of your best movies. You see how excited you are. But when you watch, you're like stressed. They say, please change. Change the channel, and the effect will change. The power to the effect is the act of attention. I look myself differently. I look my house differently. I look at my car differently. I look at my colleague differently. I've learned the act of, I don't see them from the yesterday. I see them to who they are becoming. That's why I can pick up what people cannot pick. I can pick something, a change in their life. I know that when there's an incremental improvement, and I center on it, because the more I feast on the heavenly realm, the more my heavenly realm increases my step, and the more I increases, which is what I call the higher life, the more I'm able to disarm what is hurting me. Act of intention, powerful. Let's look at the second act, the act of alignment. One of the things that have changed significantly in my life, where people cannot abuse me or people cannot take advantage of me, is the act of alignment. How did I start like act of alignment? Let me share with you. I have 7 or 8 core values. Number 1 is betterment. So my aspiration on a daily basis is to be a better me. It means that I have a whole sense of self. I have a sense of security. I have a sense of purpose. I have a sense of intention. And I have a sense of gratitude. You see, now, what now happened is that when you have attention with intention. Okay, we got a question here. Good evening, Dr. Patrick. How do you balance the emotion of feelings before changing the focus from what has happened? How do you balance the emotion of feelings before changing the focus? Yeah, how do you balance it? Okay, so this is how you balance it. Let's say, for instance, somebody you have helped and lent some money. Now, don't forget, this person that you lent some money have a value system, and you have a value system. In fact, he's broke. That's why he can come to a place of fullness, so that you can, the person can tap from your fullness. So now, when you look at the broken person, you're likely going to be influenced by brokenness and speak the language of. So balance it is to come back to you. Why did I offer to help? Your strength is the why, the intention. That's what is the balance. Come back to the balance. How do I mean? I've lent some money to a particular gentleman. He took me to court and I was upset. When you're upset, it means that he has hurt me. What hurt me, what was not essential. What should have elevated me is if I have focused on my intention. That's what they call attention with intention. Don't do without an intention. So when you come back into why you have done what you are doing, that's where your joy, that's where your reward is. Your reward is not what the person has done. Your reward is the intention with which you're doing it. And that's what we talk about. The second one, talk about alignment. Don't act out of alignment. If I give you money, I lend money to you, or I lend help, and you return back, of course, alignment said, if you reward evil to good, evil will not depart from you. That's balance. Have you seen it? And that he that lendeth to the poor, lendeth unto the Lord. Don't be deceived. Whatever man sow, that's what he's going to reap. I cannot sow good and now focus on evil. No. I should focus on my good. The more I stay on my good, the more I receive my reward. That's the only way to create a balance. So what it means that what the person has done, and you acknowledge that you're upset around it, don't stay in that upset. It's supposed to redirect you to the center of alignment. This is why the second one is answering it. So betterment means, how do my actions better me? How about the unexpected actions? How do they better me? So meaning that if I encounter situation, I have to align it back to my core values. My core values, number one, is betterment. The other one is balance. Balance means that I have an opinion, other people have the opinion. So my opinion must not be superior to them. How do I create a balance to understand what's within my control and outside my control? That's what I call a balance. How do I make sure that I am justified? Like I am in that place of justification where I justify my action based on my alignment to my core value. I have what I call the calm spirit. Calmness means that I'm untroubled, I'm unshakable. So if something come outside, I need to be able to align it to my core value of calmness, untroubled heart. Let not your heart be troubled. Believe in me, believe also in my Father. In my Father's house there are many mansions. That's it. The second word is contentment. Contentment is that what are within me? What do I have? Not what I do not have. What kills you faster is what you do not have. That's why your need will kill you, put pressure on you. But you see, what you have will elevate you. It's a sure bunker. It's where you need to rest. Always what is within you and not what's without you. The other one is about growth. How am I growing? How can this thing grow? How can this experience grow me? How can this heart grow me? The other one is empowerment. How does this empower me? How can I empower myself through this circumstance? Then, of course, the other one is simplicity of present. And the last one is steadiness. Steadiness where I become, what we call the compassionate awareness. So number one is the act of attention. Number two is the act of alignment. Freedom, awareness, presence, growth is what brings you to the unharmed state, where you shift from expectation to expression. That's where you tap into what we call the divine mind. And the divine mind will give you the divine blueprint. And divine blueprint will give you the intelligence with which to interact with the external world. I have the next one, what I call the act of selective interest. The act of selective interest. The act of selective interest. You need to be able to be an observer to know what is important to you and what is not important to you. What align, what is in agreement, what is in harmonious. And in this harmonious state, what is important is peace. What is important is compassion. What is important in that harmonious state is what I call respect. What is important is the love. So no way to invest your interest. I don't want to give my energy. And the only way I'm doing that, be still, and know that I'm God. Once I say a word, I know that the energy is giving selected interest. The person can talk from the moment I switch off I come into my place of alignment. It's my world of peace. Because I know if I continue to look at that person, that's what I call selective, the act of selective interest. This one can change the dynamics. They are not story, they are truths. I like to check the next one in these few minutes. The act of self-regulation. Let me tell you, there are three things that can help you in a stage of life. Number one is discipline. Discipline is what we talk about self-control as one of the fruit of the Spirit. I mean, Peter said it. To your faith, add goodness. To goodness, to knowledge. To knowledge, to self-control. To self-control, to godliness. To godliness, and all that, blah, blah, blah. If you have all this, you will never be moved. You see, that's why it's important that if you say that you are stressed, you are not in alignment. You're not engaging what I call the act of selection, selected interest, or this act of attention. See how it is. So the act of self-regulation is first of all driven by discipline. You got to put boundaries. You know what? You can't hurt me. Your action cannot hurt me. When you begin to set this, you are internally regulating your mind. Anytime you cross the border, you will see that there's a tight in your chest. You sweat hand. And he said there's a tremble. That's why he say if a good man fidget in front of a wicked person, your fountain is rotten. That means your regulatory body has decayed. You have no defense. And that means you have no discernment. Because discipline and discernment will give you to what I call the divine guidance. Yeah. So it comes with watchfulness, it comes with observation, it comes with radical acceptance and simple presence. And I like to bring the last one. I'm excited about this one. Hey, Shada. I like this one. I like this one because why? It's the act of gratitude. Hey. Oh, ascension is the gratitude level. I like to, I'm practicing what I call my gratitude. Like I wake up every morning and say, what am I grateful for? When I ask that question, I do deep reflection. And when I move in like this and I start on that, Lord, thank you because of the ceiling covering me. Because we are looking at things that we have not accomplished. We cannot be appreciative of the ceiling, the beauty of the ceiling. Most times we're in the house, we are not appreciating the ceiling. Sometimes I look at the ACs and I say, oh, thank you for the people who invented AC. I look at the refrigerator, the fridges and the freezers, how you can preserve. Just being in that state elevates you. That's where you're sure-footed. The act of gratitude can ascend you to a higher life. What did I say? The first one is what? Who know? The act of attention is what fuels your perspective. I love attention. I'm really changing my attention. It's so powerful when you get to this act of attention. We talked about act of alignment. We talked act of selective interest. We talked about act of self-regulate. And we finally brought it to the act of gratitude. I don't know about you, but I'm super excited. Because you know why? I will live a life of ease, of freedom, and unhurt. I don't know about you. This is getting interesting. The depth, the exposition, the simplicity, the delivery. My God, I'm excited. So that's why you need to invite your friends, share this link to help somebody, so that not for monetary, not for content, but I'm here as an enlightener. Because you know why? I'm a light worker. As a light worker, I bring good news, message. I bring deliverance, redemption. Because he redeemed us that we might redeem others. He comforted us that we might comfort others. I've gone through hurt, and that's why I can't keep quiet. Oh, I'm an enlightener. I'm an empowerer. I empower people. I empower myself. Oh, I'm a place of possibility. And that's why transformation starts from your growth. Please grow with me so that we can outwit hurt and our mental health is intact, so that we can find ease, freedom. Thank you so much. See you next time.